I got an email yesterday from a listener who told me we woke up this morning to find someone had hurled a rock through the plate glass window of our front door of our apartment building. And the rock had some creepy stuff written on it. And this is just another example of what I've been talking about for a long, long time. This is not going to just be confined to business districts. The whole goal of Antifa and other movements is to go to residential neighborhoods. And we saw that in Portland over the weekend. And now we're seeing it once again in Seattle. The owner of this apartment building is Rob. He joins us here on the Dori Monson Show. Rob, it's good to talk to you, and I appreciate you reaching out.
Thanks so much. Thanks very much for the call.
Okay, let's start with, you said that you woke up in the morning to find someone had hurled a rock through the plate glass window. So nobody heard it at the time, I assume.
No, they didn't. My apartment manager who lives in the building at 7:30 in the morning texts me these pictures of the whole lobby shattered and then this gold rock that had been hurled through the window. And luckily no one was hurt or there. And the rock said, it's probably a rock that some kid painted and colored during COVID. And some criminal picked it up and decided to throw it through our building. And the rock said, "My humanity is tied to your humanity." And then more hope, less fear in 2021. So it's kind of prophetic that, here's this rock with these amazing messages is used for violence and crime.
When you wrote to me, you said the words written on the rock, "My humanity is tied to your humanity." You described that as creepy, to say the least. Why did you find that so creepy?
Well, at first I thought someone had, designed that rock to, throw and threaten us. Because we've had on the building, someone also wrote "Eat the Rich" that they scratched onto the side of the building. So I was probably overly sensitive when I wrote you. But when I think of it now, I think it's probably just some child during COVID that wanted to write a good message. And someone stole the rock and threw it through our window.
I've talked to so many business owners and now more and more people who live in houses and apartments and are getting this sort of damage on a regular basis. It's got to be frustrating.
But Dori, what's most frustrating
Yeah.
is that in the last 4 years, from 2016 to 2020, our taxes on that building have increased 74%. Now, during that same 4-year period, inflation's maybe 1 or 2% a year, so maybe 7%.
Right.
So it's the government is taking they're increasing taxes at 10 times the rate of inflation. But has homeless gone down? Has public safety gone up? Have our schools got any better? Are our parks any cleaner? Are our bridges, Magnolia or West Seattle Bridge, any better? Nothing with our current city council has improved, despite huge increases and record taxes and record spending. That's what's frustrating.
Well, yeah, I understand that, because in any other enterprise, a company has to return value to its customers. Otherwise, the customers go away. When you have the monopoly that government does, and when they have what is incredible taxing authority, and now they're talking in Olympia about some more massive tax increases that would affect families to maybe even thousands of dollars a year if these things go through. And you're right. Things are getting worse. The more we spend, the worse things get around here. And it's the policies of our politicians who are, creating this atmosphere of, allowing Antifa or these, people who are mimicking Antifa. I don't know who threw the rock through your building.
Right.
But they're creating it. They're enabling it.
Absolutely. And the net of it is it raises the cost of providing affordable housing for people. When someone smashes that window or the taxes go up 74%, we have to pay for these things.
Yeah.
And we never used to raise rents. We'd have people that lived for 8 to 10 years, never raised rents. We can't afford to do that anymore. So we have these local city council people saying they're committed to affordable housing. But when their backs turn, they're raising rents, they're letting crime, which increases the cost of delivering, our apartments would be considered affordable.
Mm-hmm.
So they're making the matters worse, not better. I hope that Seattle residents, all residents, are realizing, despite billions of dollars in record spending, we have very little results across the board on public safety, education, parks, infrastructure, transportation, you name it. So it is time for for effective managers, effective people to be in government. I think we've run the gamut of every advocate and activist, and we have little to report.
Yeah, and the frustrating thing is the choices are generally awful because a moderate person does not want to sit. I'm not even talking about someone who's right of center. I'm just saying a moderate left of center person, they have no chance anymore, and they just get and they would have to sit with these Marxists on the city council, and so nobody wants to spend their life sitting with a bunch of people that they disagree with so strenuously. But yeah, it's going to be tough to get change anytime soon because nobody who has great ideas wants to be part of this city council because they're going to get outvoted 8-1 every single time. And so, I understand the frustration.
I think you're correct on that. And look at Jenny Durkin. Largely she would be considered, a moderate. And Kashama Sawant led a march to her private residence, really terrorizing the woman. The crowds were jumping up and down saying, F the progressives. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine if you were sitting in your house and this, it seems like any moderate person, it's going to take real fortitude and real leadership to stand up and say, I want change and improvement in Seattle. Yeah. And I hope those candidates out there.
It's also going to take a massive, broad effort by the voters because voters have to band together and say we cannot continue to let this city go down the toilet. Well, Rob, I'm sorry this happened to you and your apartment building. I know it was shaken or did shaken your building manager. And so I keep pushing these stories out there in the hopes that eventually voters will become galvanized and say, we got to take it in a different direction. So we'll see what happens. It's like turning a ship around.
Thanks, Dori.